My name is Shaun Mulholland. I'm the city manager for the City of Lebanon. It is May of 2024, and I would like to talk to you about tax rates and tax bills. The first half tax bill for the year is about to go out shortly and will be due July 1st. The city is facing an unprecedented increase in its tax rate that will be set in the fall of this year. This will be significantly different than what has occurred in the past years, where tax rate increases have been relatively low in the range of 2.5 to 3%. In 2021, there was actually a slight reduction. But this year is going to be significantly higher than that, and we want to make sure that people are aware of that and that they can make plans and budget the amount of funds that are necessary to deal with the tax bill that's going to be coming in the fall. So I'm going to talk about how the tax bill is set up, how the tax rate is set up, and what we are anticipating for the impacts coming in the fall of this year. So again, there are two tax bills. There is the spring tax bill, which is due on July 1. It's referred to commonly as the first half tax bill. The first half tax bill is an estimate only, and it's based on the previous year, so it has nothing to do with what has been appropriated for the year that we are presently in. So that number generally is the dollar amount that's due on that tax bill is not going to be the same as it is in the next tax bill. This tax bill in the fall is going to be much higher. So we want to make sure people are prepared for that. We don't want them to fall into a false sense of security thinking that I paid the first half, and if I just double that, that's what the amount will be in the second half. The fall tax bill, or the second half tax bill, is due in December. The tax rate will be set in October, and I want to explain that a little bit. So again, two tax bills. The first half is based on the previous year's, not this year's expenditures, and it's an estimate. So it is not a good barometer of what the fall tax bill is going to be. This is a copy of a tax bill. This happens to be for a city-owned piece of property, and it shows you the four different parts of the tax rate. There is the county, which is predominantly paid for by local property taxes. Each town and city in the county is apportioned a certain amount of the county tax levy, and then we remit that money to the county, Grafton County, in December of every year. And then the next part is school, and that is the local school, the school district. That amount is established again every year, and I'll talk about the timeline on that. And then there is the town or the municipal, the city portion of that. And then there's the statewide education property tax. Most folks don't realize, or a lot of them don't realize, we do have a statewide tax, and it is a statewide education property tax. The statewide education property tax is raised locally within the local property tax bill, and that money is reverted over to our local school district. It does not go to Concord, at least not right now. There is legislation that would propose that the statewide education property tax would be sent to the state and then redistributed to other municipalities, but that is not the case at present. And then what you have is, and it shows you what these rates are, and it shows you a total tax rate of $12.14. That is only about what half of the tax rate would be. So if you doubled that, that would be $24.28. People would come to the conclusion that's what the tax rate is. It is not. Again, this is based on last year's numbers. The tax rate for the fall will be higher, and it'll be considerably higher than this. So don't fall into that false sense of security that that's how it's going to operate, because it doesn't. We hear about this very frequently. As I indicated, we have four components of the tax rate, and I just spoke about those. And the tax rate setting timeline. So we've got different governments on different schedules. We have three different governments. We have the city, we have the school district, which is an independent school district, and we have the county. So the city council is the the legislative body of the city. It sets the city budget in December. So on December 11th of 2023, the city council approved the spending and anticipated the revenues for the budget year 2024. The city's budget happens to be a calendar year budget. It starts on January 1 and ends on December 31st of every year. So on December 11th, 2023, the council approved a budget that would take effect a couple weeks later on January 1. And then the next part of it is the voters in the city actually approved the school district budget. It's similar to a town meeting, and that is done in March of every year when the voters do that at the polling place. And then the next part of the process is elderly exemptions and veterans tax credits, and there are other exemptions and credits that people can apply for. And there are timelines for that in March and April. Those are on our website on the assessing webpage. Individuals or businesses can apply for these exemptions if they qualify, and if they're granted, they're submitted by that date, and that goes into the calculus for setting the tax rate in October/November. The next part of the process is determination of properties to be taxed. New properties that are added to the tax rolls, depending upon what's on the ground on April 1st. If you're building a building and if it's half built on April 1st, we assess and we tax that which was there on April 1st, half the building, what its value is at that particular time. And then that process is finalized on September 1. And what happens with that, there are abatements and other calculations that go in to determining what the tax base of the city is. The first half tax bill, as I indicated before, will be going out in a couple of weeks here, and it'll be due July 1. The next step is the county budget. The county budget is set in by the county delegation. The county delegation is the representatives of our House representatives throughout the municipalities in Grafton County, and they actually approve that budget because their budget takes effect on July 1 of every year, and it goes through June 30th. So they'll be doing that within the next several weeks, setting their budget. And then we'll know what the county's portion of the tax rate is going to be, what our assessment is of that we'll have to revert back to the county. But we don't have that information yet. Tax rates are then set by the New Hampshire Department of Revenue Administration. The Commissioner of Revenue, DRA, will set those tax rates and sign those. And that's a process we work with them to provide them the information about our estimated revenues and a number of other factors. The second half tax bill will be due sometime in December, and that's based upon when it's actually set. There are 234 towns and cities in the state. There are 10 counties, and then there are a number of, obviously, school districts. All of those entities are providing information to determine the tax rate, and the staff at DRA work through that and help us to develop that tax rate. And again, it's signed off by the DRA commissioner. And that's when we know what the tax rate is going to be and how we're going to develop our tax bills. So that's the timeline for the process. Now, the projected tax rate increases I indicated are significantly higher than what we have seen in the past. The difference between the 2023 tax rate and 2024 tax rate for the city portion of the bill is an additional 73 cents per thousand. The school is what the voters approved in March. The difference for their budget from 23 to 24 is going to result in an increase in the tax rate of $1.45. As I talked about with the county, it has not been determined yet. That'll be set in the next couple of weeks. We do know that the county commissioners proposed a budget that results in a tax rate increase of 2.4%. But again, that budget has not been approved yet by the county delegation. They can make that bigger or smaller. That'll be up to them to do that. They'll vote on that, and we won't know again for a couple of weeks. Statewide education property tax has already been set. The state has a 2-year budget. This is a non-budget year, and that will be determined for next year. When they do set the state budget, that'll be part of that process. So the projected tax rate impacts, to put it in a more understandable fashion, is right now we're projected to have an increase of $2.18 per $1,000 of assessed valuation. So what that means is if you have a house valued at the amounts as indicated here, the following additional taxes are due. So if you own a house that's $400,000, that's an additional $872 that you would be paying in the fall. In the case of a $500,000 home, that's an additional $1,090 approximately. A $600,000 home, that would be an additional $1,308 approximately. The caveats, as I've already indicated before, and I'll highlight them once again. Any change to the county tax levy will affect these numbers. And again, we won't know for a couple of weeks on that. The property valuation will not be set officially until September, sometime in September. It's due by September 1st, but when the DRA actually signs off on that. There'll be abatements and there'll be other changes that will impact that. Also, changes to other revenues that we receive, what we have to lay out for overlay to pay for abatements and other factors. So there are things that can change this $2.18. They can make it go higher or make it go lower. Probably not low, but likely to be some increase, potentially higher than that. So that's a pretty significant increase, as I indicated. And the goal here is to provide people with as much information as possible to take the necessary steps to try to address this before the fall comes in. And I'll talk about that in just a minute here. So what can you do? One of the things you can do is if you don't escrow your taxes, you pay them, you don't have a mortgage, and you're paying for those out of your bank account with money that you have set aside, is you need to plan for that and budget for that now so that you'll have the additional funds necessary to pay the increases as I've indicated there. If you escrow your taxes as part of your mortgage payment, you may wish to contact your lender and have them adjust that escrow amount now so that you have sufficient funds on hand when the time comes that you'll be able to pay your taxes when they are due. Now, the next part of it is how can I learn more about the budget processes? The city's budget webpage outlines the process. If you go there for the budget, it will tell you when the public hearings are, when the workshops are. They start in October. That's when we have our presentation of the budget overview. It's towards the end of October, on the 20th, 21st. But again, the dates will be on our website as we update them. We'll be talking about the overview of the capital improvements plan, and then we go into the workshops, which are in the month of November. The first council meeting in December, there's an agenda item. It's a regular council meeting where we allow public comment on the budget. And this gives the time for folks to be able to go to the work sessions or listen to them remotely, because again, all of our meetings are either live streamed or they're live streamed, and you can participate with Microsoft Teams or phone in. But this will give you an idea to learn about what the budget is. It's a workshop to help the council to understand it and the general public as well. There's no public comment during those periods. Again, it's for folks to learn. But public comment is allowed for that first meeting in December, which again will be on our website, the date of that meeting, first meeting in December. And it's an agenda item. People can make comment on the budget at that particular time. Then there's actually a formal budget public hearing. I think it's December 18th this year, but again, it'll be posted on our website. It's already there. That meeting is where the official public comment is on the budget. Anybody can talk about the budget, make recommendations to their elected officials, that being the city council, and ask additional questions if you have any of those. And then that night, the council usually approves the city budget, which takes effect, and again, a couple of weeks later on January 1, in this case, of 2025. I think it also would be helpful for folks to take a look at, on May 8th, the City Council had a special meeting in which I provided the public the financial outlook on the city's budget moving forward into 2025 and beyond, some of the projections that we have there. I think that would be very educational people if they wish to take a look at that and see what that looks like. And certainly concerning, because there are significant increases that are ahead of us to be able to meet the demands of the city and also some of the spending decisions that have been made. If you do have questions about the budget, please reach out to us. There is information on our website, but we also want to make sure that we have provided information to folks so that they can notify their elected officials and provide the guidance they wish to give to them. We can be reached by phone here at City Hall, certainly by email, and we'll address those as we can. So I'd like to thank you for your time. And again, if you have questions of us, please reach out. Thank you.